Hello, y'all. It's uh it's Ben and Max. We are absent George and Declan. We're just doing a sort of rapid review of Werewolf at Night, which we both saw, and I think we both liked it a decent amount. Um, Actually, the first thing that I didn't actually realize this was a Marvel film or Marvel television special, as they say. Or anything to do with Marvel until I read up on it. I didn't know the comics really. So it's interesting. It's completely different from anything that I would expect Marvel to do. Obviously, they've been branching off, but this is like way off. And I liked it for that reason. I like the old school feel, trying to replicate 30s, 40s horror movies, the sort of Vincent Price, monologues.
Mhm.
Um, and I think it was so separate from the Marvel like universe that it worked, even though it has some stuff we'll talk about later. But I really enjoyed the whole premise, the ridiculousness of it. I thought it was great.
I did too. I mean, I think if you take away the Marvel branding and then that big special whatever like banner that they had at the beginning, I I could go through the entire thing and not know that this was Marvel.
Hmm.
I would just think that it was a well-made, I don't know, like not necessarily a short, but like a mini feature, I guess. And yeah, it was enjoyable. I mean, they got away from a lot of the criticisms that Marvel sort of falls into, especially now with big CGI sets, kind of ridiculous plot points, corny jokes
Yeah,
that are out of step with the rest of the dialogue, the plot and the storyline. And I think they kind of escaped that a little bit for at least the 55 minutes that we were able to sit through this for the most part.
yeah. I mean, I would say the majority, aside from the like few scenes of the Bloodstone, obviously,
Yep.
Swamp Thing, Ted is CGI. Rest of
Understandable.
it, yeah. The rest of it is seems like it's practical. I don't know whether the blood was practical or whether that was CGI. It kind of seemed CGI-esque, at least with the like blood coming on the camera.
That was cool.
So I couldn't tell about that, but I mean, it seemed like most of it was like practical effects, like they would have used for old school horror movies.
Yeah.
Um, and I actually watched it with my friend, and I didn't know it was Marvel. He's not a big Marvel fan of anything. But he really enjoyed it because it's not really a Marvel thing.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, the other thing that I really enjoyed is the style, the black and white, um, but also the choice to use the sort of what do you call it?
You
What's
talk
it?
about the bloodstone being the only piece of color throughout.
Yeah, yeah. What is it? Pleasantville. That's one movie. There are a few movies that like use that scheme.
Schindler's List does something
Schindler's List.
similar. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Schindler's List. Um, and I think it's really cool to see. And I think it actually works for this film because when other people touch the bloodstone, um, obviously nothing happens. But when she touches the bloodstone at the end, it fills out the color, sort of showing like the capacity for good that people have when they've only been using it for evil. Hence the black and white, their moral gray sort of outlook that these are monsters and they must be killed. And I love the cast. Um, Kirk Thatcher as whatever his name is with the big axe. He was a
Yeah.
great character. They were all great, and it was short enough that they had their moments. Then they all sort of died, and yeah, I mean it worked. And
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I don't I don't really have much else to say.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said. I mean, I think another thing that I would add is that it's a little bit more violent than I think we're used to with
Sure.
Marvel. You get the blood splatter, which is not something you normally get. I mean, they obviously introduced Deadpool and Logan onto Disney Plus earlier this year, and so clearly moving into a little bit more mature territory. But this was like the first actual Marvel project that we got with anything, anything like that,
Yeah.
and I definitely appreciate them jumping around genres, but also just branching out and trying something new. Um,
And it's a
not forcing something to connect to something else, which is, part of what Phase 4 has been, right? Is not these intricate puzzle pieces that all are interwoven and everything, but a little bit more standalone, a little bit more independent projects, which I think is great.
yeah, I mean, it really, aside from comic ties, I knew Swamp Thing, I didn't know Werewolf by Night. But aside from comic ties, there's really no like tie into the like Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I think is to the immense benefit of the film. I feel like it'd be dragged down, especially with the style and everything. But like you were saying with the blood and violence, I think they did a really smart thing, which is they were doing old school horror, so it's a lot
Mhm.
more cartoony. It's less likely to scare like younger kids and stuff, so they can still watch it. Um, which is kind of funny because back in the day, back in those days, um, the kids would never be allowed to see a horror movie like that. But these days, with everything that's going on, like it's completely unrealistic that no one cares.
Yeah. And the,
Even like the dismemberment, which I thought was cool and stuff.
yeah, Swamp Thing kind of incinerating everybody.
Oh
Um,
yeah. So that is a cool the comic for Swamp Thing, they make a deal about the mark of the Swamp Thing. Nothing evil can stand its touch. So like when those people just burst into flames, that's his power. It's because they're evil. Uh,
yeah. But the first time you see Swamp Thing is him grabbing Gael Garcia Bernal, like wrapping around his chest, and he doesn't burn up. And this is obviously before we know exactly what Swamp Thing's powers are.
mhm.
And then as you go back and look into the mark of the Swamp Thing, and then you see him touching other people throughout the special. Um, yeah,
And I think it's nice they don't really, explain any of that. It doesn't need to be explained, at least in this. I
no,
think it works well, just leaving all of that ambiguous. And for the people who like the comics or want to learn about it, uh, you know, it's there for you, but it doesn't need to be like e- explained. I know Dick
no,
hate that, but
because it can be explained away as simply as, oh, they're friends. It's a voluntary thing that Swamp
mhm.
Thing can do. He chose not to burn him, but we know why now.
Yeah.
Instead of, if you get because he doesn't touch anybody else throughout the special that doesn't die,
Mhm.
as far as I remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's true.
Even what's her face, Elsa. Um,
Yeah. Does he touch Elsa?
I don't think so, but she's
Okay.
also not evil, so I
Yeah.
don't think it would really apply.
No, she what was the old lady?
I don't remember her name, but she died.
Yeah, she definitely died. That was a very satisfying death. My friend kept saying she looked like Kathy Bates, and she really did.
She did look like Kathy Bates.
She was like Walmart Kathy Bates. Let's see, is there anything else you need to touch?
Well, I mean, it's Michael Giacchino.
Oh
He
yeah,
he
yeah, that was
was scored a number of Marvel projects. He scored this, but he also directed it.
he's known for scoring
Yeah,
tons of stuff. Pixar, he's known for scoring.
Spider-Man, within the MCU. I think he did another. I don't remember what it was. George would know. But yeah, I mean, well done. It was a tight 55 minutes.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
think he did a good
well-told
job.
story, I think.
This was his first like actual directing. As I looked it up, he had done like two short films,
I think that's right. Yeah.
but I would not have like it was so strange when I first saw that Michael Giacchino was the one directing it. I really was confused. Just because first of all he doesn't direct, but it also didn't seem like his first, big directing project would be like for a horror sort of centric thing, but did a great job. He emulated the style really well.
Yeah.
Um, I have no notes. It was
No notes. There you go. I mean, do you think that there is going to be any? We talked a little bit about connecting to the broader phase, and other than maybe bringing in more monsters and the introduction of the of Blade coming, I don't know, what, 24, 25, 2025 or
yeah,
something.
whenever it comes.
Yeah. And vampires, stuff like that. I mean, other than monsters somewhere on the horizon, do you think that there's anything to think about in the near future?
Well, I think it seems like Marvel is willing to get pretty creative, at least with some of their side projects. Their
Yeah.
big movies still seem very blockbuster, which is understandable.
Yeah.
Would love to see an out there, Marvel movie, but I understand that would be a big financial risk for them. Um, Even if they have plenty of money,
Yeah.
just from the producers like thinking. But for their specials, this WandaVision, I mean, most of their more exciting television stuff, Moon Knight, it's clear that they're willing to go in a lot of different directions. And since this is more of a television special, I guess you get that leeway. But I guess even with Doctor Strange, I mean, they're clearly willing to experiment more, which I like. I think it needs some fresh touches. Like Taika Waititi came in and added something new. I think it does need something new. And I think I'm a horror fan, so I really like seeing the horror side of Marvel. I hope they bring Ghost Rider in soon because he's
Hmm.
a great character. Everyone wants Mephisto, but we'll see when that happens. Uh, I really just hope that they continue with like that side of things. Obviously, they have Blade coming up. They have what's his name, Black Knight, the
Kit Harington's
yeah,
character.
Barrington. Um,
I mean, Phase Four, they've definitely branched out much more than in the past. I think you're right. They're still stuck in the blockbuster with their films at least, but you've obviously got WandaVision being kind of the standout of following the format of various sitcoms over the decades. And then yeah, Moon Knight I think is different.
yeah,
But even with the movies, you get a little bit of different flavor that we might not have gotten in previous phases, which I think is nice, right? You've got Shang-Chi, more of a martial arts style than anything else. Eternals is kind of like an epic. Um,
yeah. But they do all have that sort of. I mean, I suppose WandaVision does end with a sort of Marvel, sort of CGI fight. Um,
yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they break the mold in any way, but
yeah.
they're just a little bit,
No, no, and I agree.
yeah,
Like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness,
for
definitely,
sure.
some
I think that
horror.
was the biggest departure
Yeah,
to
I was a
one of
big
the
fan of.
movies. Yeah.
I think the next one coming out is Wakanda Forever. I assume that'll be pretty standard blockbuster, similar to Black Panther.
Yeah.
Um, and then after that,
Is that Quantumania? Is that
Quantumania.
what's
I
next?
think that is next,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
That one will be a little bit like Civil War, I'm guessing, where it's
I'm curious. I mean, they could do a lot of stuff with that.
Yeah,
Um, it should be interesting.
yeah.
But
I mean, overall, I think just they're doing lots of cool stuff with the style and interesting
yeah,
directors and showrunners that are bringing something new to the table.
Evil. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it definitely is an interesting departure. It's more
Yeah.
of a sitcom.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, but this is one of the best departures from that sort of formula. The best
Absolutely.
side projects I think they've done.
I agree. I mean, and we're getting another one. Oh gosh, this December, I think, with the Guardian special,
Oh yeah, that should be
holiday special. So who knows what that'll be like. But this one wasn't announced. This one was just kind of
I, I had
out
no
of
idea
nowhere. No
unless
one
you
knew
asked
about it.
today.
And then they announced it at D23. And they're like, oh yeah, it's coming in like 2.5 weeks. Get ready for it. I'm like, okay,
Crazy, but great
yeah,
job.
well
Also,
done.
it's from the comics, but I did chuckle at the Jack Russell joke.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I don't have much else to say.
I don't either. I think it's well done. And I definitely would like to see more of this kind of um, experimentation.
I definitely second that.
Yeah.
Everyone should go watch it. I think it's really fun. It's 55 minutes or whatever. It's not that much time. And anyone can watch it. You don't need to watch any Marvel projects.
Hmm.
Zero, which is nil.
Yep.
Um, yeah, that's it. Catch us on the pod doing Amsterdam later this week.
See
See ya.
ya.